The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, Matt in studio with me. We'll be joined by him in just a moment. Got producer John on CRN Live on YouTube. Plenty to get to here as the IHRA continues to make a whole lot of moves here as they prepare to step into battle against the NHRA directly. Speaking of the NHRA, they're about to hit a pretty big milestone. We'll detail that coming up later on in the show. Got a famed motorsports museum ready to be open to the public once again. We got legal challenges and, well, not necessarily legal challenge, but certainly something that's grabbed the attention of both the football and the racing world. Got a mess of an Xfinity Series race, the fallout from it. And we got one motorsports series that now has a commissioner. Commissioners have worked out some mixed reviews in other sports. We'll talk about it
right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Steve West, Matt Nicholson in studio again. Producer John is on CRN Live on YouTube. Feel free to say hi to him there if you are on there. Chi-Town Mark, we got Jeffrey, we got Athena, plenty more. Appreciate y'all. Chi-Town Mark, glad to see that you're back home and feeling better. That's also a good bit of good news.
Yep.
Happy to hear it. It's Throwback Weekend in Darlington. You can't really see it. I'll try and show it in a little bit. Matter of fact, let me turn that down just a hair there. You can see the throwback shirt that I've got on back when Matt and I had the opportunity to do Darlington, PA in 2018 and 2019. My wife, who does T-shirts, made this T-shirt. It's pretty cool. I appreciate it, and I've been able to keep it in half decent shape ever since. So I figured since it's Darlington and Throwback Weekend, what the heck? I'd wear the shirt. All right, so let's look ahead, we'll look ahead in a minute. Let's look back a little bit first. Last Saturday, Xfinity Series race it was one of those races that many, maybe except the winner, would like to forget. The final of 15 cautions, we'll get back to that, led to an overtime finish where Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray were side by side when the white flag was shown to the field. Down the backstretch, Gray got out front. Smith drove in hard, too hard. Yeah, I'm still dealing with that cough, by the way. Into turn 3, knocking Gray out and spun him out, but lost control of his ride at the same time, created a melee of epic proportions. Again, we'll deal with this when we get into the news. Slipping through it all, Austin Hill. He gets the win, his second of the year. Sheldon Creed was able to get through unscathed as well. He now has his record-setting 14th second-place finish without having a win. That breaks his own NASCAR record. Justin Allgaier third, Brendan Poole fourth, Sam Mayer fifth. Then you got Dean Thompson, Daniel Dye, Ryan Sieg, Chris Wright, Sammy Smith fell to 10th. For the record, Taylor Gray, who was leading going into turn 3 on the final lap, officially finishes 29th. Yeah, they're not happy with each other. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Justin Allgaier, Austin Hill have 2 wins each. Jesse Love, Connor Zilic holding a win each, then in on points. Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Sammy Smith, Ryan Sieg, Carson Quapple, Jeb Burton, Daniel Dye, and Taylor Gray. Gray holding a slim 2-point lead over Brandon Jones for that final playoff spot. On the track, next up on Sunday was the NHRA's Lucas Oil Winter Nationals getting underway next. Led off Sunday's action. Top Fuel, the finals coming down to a battle between Clay Millican and Tony Stewart. A little bit of a surprise there. Millican quicker off the line when smoked his tires. It was all Millican all the way. 4.273 ET at 189.71 due to his own engine blowing up, which had to leave Tony Stewart thinking, what if I hadn't smoked the tires?
Yep.
Well,
that'll always be the what if.
Indeed. Funny car finals came down to fast. Jack Beckman taking on Daniel Wilkerson. Neither one really all that quick off the light. Beckman does leave first, gets to the other end first. He was pedaling the car the whole way. Wilkerson, like smoked the tires right off the light. Again, Beckman pedaling the car the whole way, was able to pull a 4.015 ET at 302.28 miles per hour. Is it something on the track?
I think they all had a grip issue with the weather.
Good grief. The funny thing is Pro Stock Car didn't seem to have that. Greg Anderson making it to the finals of Pro Stock Car takes on Dallas Glenn. Glenn with a better reaction time, not by much, but it was a pretty one too. Anderson powers by, though, claims the win, 6.476 ET. I'm sorry, 6.476 ET, 210.9 miles per hour. And Anderson, in that, claims his event win number 108. Whoa. Unlike Top Fuel and Funny Car, both drivers, clean runs. I don't know. Weird day.
Yeah.
In Top Fuel points, Sean Langdon, 27-point lead over Doug Kalita. Antron Brown, 86 back. 98 back is Brittany Force, and Tony Stewart now up to 5th. He's 100 behind. With his 38th event win, you got Jack Beckman taking over the Funny Car points lead by 59 over Paul Lee. Matt Hagan, 74 back, 77 down Chad Green, and your defending champion Austin Prox sits 100 points behind the division leader. Greg Anderson's win vaults him into the Funny Car points lead by 38 over Dallas Glenn. 149 behind is Corey Reed. This one's huge as far as a big difference between first and fifth. Matt Hartford, 174 down, and 199 out of the lead is Jed Coughlin Jr. in fifth. And even though they've only run the one race since we haven't updated it, let's remind you that Gage Herrera, I know we're all shocked, has the Pro Stock Motorcycle points lead, 21 up on Matt Smith, 45 over Angie Smith. Chase Van Zandt, 49 down, Richard Gadsden, 68 back. And that takes us back to Martinsville. Man, I cannot wait for pollen season to be over.
I second that.
Cup Series wrapping up the weekend, and while it seemed to be, he seemed to own the track at one time, let's face it, the last time Denny Hamlin won at Martinsville, a decade ago. Well,
Crazy.
he finally visited them again, victory lane at the paperclip last Sunday, took the lead on lap 126 of the 400-lap race, and he was in control really the rest of the way. He led the final 275 laps. He led 274 of them. I'd say that's pretty controlling.
Very.
Hamlin besting his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Christopher Bell. For that, Bubba Wallace with a nice third-place run, trailed by Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson in the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Ross Chastain. Short track driver, but also a guy who seems to have come to life under Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, Ryan Preece with another top 10.
Yep. He's definitely carrying that banner right now.
He really is. Then you got Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, and Todd Gilliland filling out that top 10. Got 5 drivers locked into the playoffs at this time. 3-time winner Christopher Bell, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Josh Berry each have a win that have them in at the moment. Chase Elliott is your leader on points. Then Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, and finishing it out is Ryan Preece and Michael McDowell in the top 16. McDowell with a 9-point lead over Kyle Busch for that final playoff spot. Kyle Busch comes over. Okay, I got to mention this because this has been a big-time conversation.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch comes over to Richard Childress Racing, wins 3 races in fairly rapid-fire fashion in his debut year.
Yeah.
And since then has done, I hate to say it, but practically nothing. What in the world is going on over there at RCR?
And I don't think it's going to get any better.
I don't see how it will.
I mean, even though with the personnel changes they've had with the competition side of it, it's still not gotten any better.
No.
There's an issue with, I don't think they're getting as much from Chevrolet as they was.
Is that the
think they are.
whole story, though?
I think it's part of it.
Yeah, but that's not the whole story. There's something more there.
Yeah,
There's something going on in the background.
It's definitely something. Yeah. I mean, I'd be crazy to say that there wasn't something, but
Yeah. I don't know.
something is definitely amiss.
They keep looking, but I don't know. They're not finding what they're looking for.
No.
This weekend, Xfinity Series heading into South Carolina to run the Sport Clips Haircuts BFW Help a Hero 200. That is a mouthful. It's at Darlington Raceway. It'll be on the CW and MRN radio starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Late tonight or early Sunday morning, depending on exactly where in the United States you are. And I get it, Athena, you're overseas. I understand that, but I've got to go with the vast majority of the people who are listening and watching. U.S. time here, Formula One getting things rolling in Japan. 18 turns, 3.2 mile long. The Suzuka circuit. Love the course, truth be told. It's a lot of fun to watch. But I'm not going to be awake to see it. Race starts at 1 a.m. Eastern time, midnight Central time here in the United States.
I will not be awake either.
No. Max Verstappen has claimed the pole position with Lando Norris joining him on the front row. And then the racing weekend, fairly short list, wraps up with the Cup Series running the Goodyear 400 at Darlington. This is throwback weekend for them. We'll be judging a little bit later on. Matt's got his top 3 picks for Xfinity and Cup. I've got my top 3 picks for Xfinity and Cup, and then our overall winner. So be looking for that.
And I will tease.
Okay.
For my first time ever, an Xfinity scheme wins Best in Show.
Yes, and I can admit that I do have an Xfinity scheme winning the overall Best 2. Darlington's Goodyear 400 has the coverage on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio, while Fox airs Live Golf. Okay. 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time is the start. So you've got IndyCar, NHRA, Craftsman Truck Series, Formula E all off this weekend. Now, coming this Friday evening, I will admit to this, Truck Series gets back into action with the Weather Guard truck race at Bristol, Fox Sports 1 and NASCAR Racing Network, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And again, for those of you that ask about it, I'm going to remind you every once in a while, the start times that I mention are the race coverage times, because the pre-race coverage times for TV and radio vary pretty much every single week. So I'm not going to give you that. I'm just going to give you the race time coverage start. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Commissioners. Kind of a spotty history. But NASCAR has their first one. I don't know why. It's Steve Phelps, As we noted, it is a first for NASCAR. Commissioners have been around, for better or worse, in pro sports for over a century. The first one that we know of really kind of making commissioners a thing was Major League Baseball's Kennesaw Mountain Landis, probably best known for banning the Black Sox team, the shoeless Joe Jackson and crew, for the 1919 World Series. The current crop of commissioners is, well, yeah. Phelps leaves the role of president of NASCAR to take on the commissioner's role. Okay. In this particular way, he will be overseeing all aspects of both NASCAR and IMSA, plus he will be over all 15 tracks that NASCAR either owns and or operates. Steve O'Donnell moves from the role of chief operating officer into the role of president, taking on the day-to-day operation of NASCAR's top three series, Cup, Xfinity, and the Craftsman Truck Series. O'Donnell is also set to oversee all the commercial, media, and track operations. So really, we're kind of putting Phelps and O'Donnell into a situation where they're both overseeing all the tracks?
What it sounds like.
I'm getting the impression that O'Donnell probably will be more heavily hands-on involved, whereas Phelps will be sitting back from a big chair, smoking a cigar and going, yep, I agree with that, or nope, I don't agree with that.
Probably. Probably so.
I added the big cigar.
But if we're going to do something like a commissioner, why can't that be someone that has been in some form of a competitive role within the sport?
Oh, but why would we do that? I'm just asking the question.
With this right here, it makes sense. It makes sense. If you're going to have somebody be a commissioner, have it be someone that's been in a competitive role.
Sure. If you think about it, even Bill France, Big Bill France, he was a racer before he turned the man who founded and ran NASCAR with the iron fist for as long as he did.
Yep. Some people may disagree with me. But from somebody that has been in a competitive role, that's the key word here.
Yeah.
Whether it be from a team side or a driving side. The one that would have made sense to me to do that, Ben Kennedy.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Ben's been behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Ben has won at the top three series level.
Mm-hmm.
He's been involved with team management in a form.
And he's, let's face it, part of the France camp.
Part of the family. Part of that family.
Yeah.
But it's in that manner of how his grandpa was.
He does seem to have that mentality.
In a competitive role. So why don't we do that?
Yeah. I would agree. And there's a part of me that wants to say this is like an emeritus role. It's like, Phelps is on his way out and they just wanted to give him this before he stepped away. But Phelps isn't all that old. It's not like he's ready to retire. So I'm not really sure why NASCAR decided that they needed a commissioner in addition to a president.
I don't know.
O'Donnell, again, as president, we talked about it just a second ago, mentioned that he'll oversee all the commercial media and track operations, day-to-day stuff, I'm sure, along with the 4 international series of Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and Europe. Moves were announced on Monday. The pair stated the new roles were effective immediately upon the announcement. Whether or not we'll see anything change or how the operations change immediately, I don't think so. I don't think much is really going to be that obvious to us, the fan, on a day-to-day basis.
It shouldn't.
So, I don't know. We'll find out. I'd like to say it would change what's going on in Southern California, but even they're starting to be a little bit more open about this, and this really comes out of that file that we like to pull things out of from every once in a while called Tell Us What We Didn't Already Know.
This one makes me want to jump off of Mount Kilimanjaro with no parachute because this is puzzling.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We knew this because we've been talking about this on this show for a while. and we're not the only show that's talking about it. I'm not trying to say that we're it, but we have talked about I guess we can now call it the former Auto Club Speedway. I don't think they're actually the title sponsors of it anymore.
But I wouldn't be if I was Auto Club.
But we'll call it the former Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, California, Southern California. If you've been listening, you know, of course, that this was initially built as kind of a Michigan Speedway clone, the 2-mile D-shaped oval. And it was going to be changed into kind of a short track that mimicked some of the best-known short tracks. Initial reports had a little bit of a factor from Richmond, a little bit of Martinsville, maybe even a little bit of Bristol. And to that end, NASCAR sold off, get this, 433 of the 522 acres of land that they had for a little over $500 million. And I mean, you want to talk about rapid fire. People came in, they built an industrial park, and they put up warehouses like that. In the meantime, for the track itself, demolition began. And currently what's left is kind of a shell of how the track was. I think we got a picture somewhere if producer John hasn't already shown it. Got a few seats, few grandstands basically along pit road. You got pit road there. You got a bit of what the D-shaped front stretch is in front of the grandstands. And that's really about it. NASCAR's been insistent that the LA market is still important to the series and NASCAR as a whole. NASCAR commissioner, got to get used to that, Steve Phelps said that, quote, that market, LA, is an important market for us. But then he started talking about the future, and he said, what is the future of that particular facility? I'm still unsure. Like I said, this came out of the Tell Us What We Don't Already Know file. Phelps continued, would I like to build a new facility at Fontana? I would. It would be a short track because we don't have room for anything else, frankly. It's because you sold off more than, 75% of it. Then added, quote, do I think creating a short track out there would be a cool thing for us? Yes. With that said, it's $300 million to build that facility. Is that the best use of that money? That's the big question. The cost is still really high for us to just press pause right now. Well, it's essentially what we're doing. But yeah, I'd love to build a facility out there. When is that going to happen? Or if that is going to happen, I don't have a timeline. Now, it was just 2 years ago that facility held its last race. Again, 2 years ago, but kind of seems a heck of a lot longer ago now, doesn't it? And with this track idle and they moved the Clash, the only race in California now is in the northern part of the state up in wine country of Sonoma Raceway. They don't have a presence in Southern California. It's led people to speculate that should they leave Chicago after this year, which would be the third year of the Chicago street race, they might go to a place like San Diego to run a street race. Whatever. I mean, at this point in time, you're going to take $300 million. You sold 433 acres for $500 million.
That's $1 million an acre.
Why don't you just go ahead and sell the last, 90 acres or whatever, and then go to one of the existing short tracks that's already in Southern California and work with them, kind of like SMI is working from Bristol to Nashville Fairgrounds to try and refurbish it. Why don't you try and refurbish one of the existing short tracks that's already there in Southern California and then go there?
How much was it again that they took in money every single year to build a track inside of a football stadium?
I'm not even sure we found that exact total. Did we ever?
I recall it being 30 to 50 million.
Okay. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I recall 30 to 50 million.
So you did that for 3
years.
So that's easy 90 up to 150
90
million.
to 150 million dollars.
That's half the cost of what they just said it would take to finish Auto Club.
You can take that and do what a lot of people say is a gimmick race, but you can't fix a very more than adequate facility that is in the Los Angeles market. You can't fix that, but we can waste money on a gimmick race.
Yeah. Which is a cash grab. You and I have noted that. It's a cash grab.
Makes no sense whatsoever. ever.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
If you're truly committed to racing the Cup Series specifically in Southern California, be it LA or San Diego, but it looks like they're pretty much hell-bent for leather on LA, then you make the investment.
Last I checked, it's not quite as big, but it's pretty sizable if you ask me. San Francisco's not that bad of a market for California.
Yeah, but considering Sonoma's not all that far away, would you, and I get it, it's road course versus short track, but still, you've kind of already got that market covered with Sonoma, sort of.
That's what I was saying. You're already in a California market that is of good size.
Yeah.
So why are we bent on Los Angeles when you destroyed? You destroyed. Let's just say it for what it's worth.
Brought it on yourself.
The facility that was putting on arguably some of the better racing that was going on.
Yeah. Even with the Gen 7 car, you know, I think that they were doing a good job the first couple of years that it was out there. So I don't know.
I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around it.
I'm all for bringing another short track into NASCAR. But you know what? If you're going to do it, just do it.
Well, considering that they've already destroyed Irwindale,
Yeah.
about all you got left is Kern County.
Yeah. So either fish or cut bait, boys. And if you're going to fish, let's fish. If you're going to cut bait, go work on Irwindale or Kern County anyway.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
here in studio with me, producer John, on the CRN Live on YouTube side of things. And if you've been checking us out there, kind of add some visuals to it that you don't get on the radio side. And don't get us wrong, we certainly appreciate everybody checking us out on the flagship station, 95.1 The Mountain. But if you can, go on over to CRN Live on YouTube and check out some of the visuals as well. And while you're there, subscribe if you haven't already. We'd appreciate it. One more note on the NASCAR side of things overall. Lionel, who is, of course, NASCAR's official diecast collectible brand, has announced that for the foreseeable future, because of what's going on with President Donald Trump instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries that the United States does business with, matching or at least having whatever tariffs those countries have on U.S. goods, the Lionel brand is going to add a tariff surcharge onto all purchases. Lionel has been licensed as the official diecast collectible of NASCAR since 2010. The overwhelming majority, if not all, of diecast collectibles are made in where? China. I know you're shocked by that. It's one of the bigger targets of the Trump administration, by the way, noting a big discrepancy between the tariffs that the U.S. has on Chinese goods versus what China was slapping on whatever goods that they allow into their country from the United States. According to the Sports Business Journal, Lionel placing a 10% surcharge onto all diecast collectibles, becoming effective on Thursday, March 27th, so in effect now, until further notice on all products that are sold through their online site, LionelRacing.com. It's being added to all product received in the U.S. on or after March 7th, which corresponds to the first day that Lionel LLC had to begin paying the tariff themselves. So there you go. Or wondering whether or not these tariffs would end up being passed on to you, yes, of course they will. It's kind of like adding a business tax onto a corporation. They're always going to pass that along to the consumer. It's the way that it goes. All right, let's turn back and look at this. Now, we did talk about this, excuse me, during Crossed Flags, available now. But for those of you that didn't watch or listen to Crossed Flags, let's deal with this just so that you know. It turned out to be a mess of a last lap finish in the Xfinity Series race. Sammy Smith trying to be contrite in post-race interviews, but it wasn't enough for the driver who seemed all set to win his first Xfinity Series race, Taylor Gray. The two met up in the infield care center, but officials were on hand. They kept it from becoming more than a verbal altercation between the pair. Gray said after the race, quote, "So like the whole interaction in turn one where initially he moved me up the racetrack and then got the lead from me, and then I did the same thing to him. I think that's fair, right?" All right, let's take this piece by piece. Judging from what he said, moved me up the track. Fair?
If you want to call it that.
Okay. Payback on that, moving him up the track in response. Fair, right?
It's short track racing.
Okay. All right. Just, again, taking it piece by piece. We know we're coming down to the end of the race. Gray continued on. I was a little upset when he first hit me just because I felt like I haven't put a scratch on him all year. He could have raced me a little better, but then again, it's Martinsville. I have to understand that that's going to happen, but what he did getting into turn 3 completely takes no talent. All you've got to do is let off the brake pedal and just clearly destroy me. So I don't know. It ruins his race too. Now, we've got a series of pictures up there on CRN Live on YouTube that John's going to start putting up there. And this is basically just kind of the timeline of going down the backstretch and into turn 3. And I get, like we saw, even though it was one of the first times I ever really heard Dale Earnhardt Sr. booed.
Yeah.
That whole situation, Bristol with Terry Labonte.
Yep.
Where he said, all I was trying to do was rattle his cage. He ended up spinning him out. But correct me if I'm wrong. Dale Sr. wasn't even a full car length off the back of Terry Labonte's car.
No,
when he tapped him.
He was on his bumper.
Okay. If you're looking at what we're seeing on CRN Live on YouTube, he went dive bombing. Okay, that's the first picture right there as I'm looking at it. He's 2-3 car lengths back. That's deliberately diving into turn 3 without the intention of trying to go around. You're dive bombing into turn 3 with the specific intent on ramming into the back of Taylor Gray's number 54.
Pretty sure I said after Richmond last year that Pandora's box is now officially open. Here's test number 1. After Austin Dillon did what he did,
Yeah.
there's test number 1.
All right. Sammy Smith, for his turn, said this, quote, I mean, it's unfortunate. I'm not very proud of that, what I did. It's just that he has no respect for me. He was flipping me off under red flag. Now, we don't have video of that, so we can't state whether he was or not. Smith goes on saying, swerving at my door, I moved him in turn 1, and he still had the lead those 2 restarts and going down the back straightaway. So I thought to myself, what would he do in this situation? He would have done the exact same thing. So he's flipping me off, and that right there was the line for me to ultimately make the decision I made. Is he, for all intents and purposes, admitting that he purposely wrecked Taylor Gray?
Yes. That's admission of guilt on the wreck.
Oops. All right. So we go from a short track to Darlington, which is known for its own beating and banging. And from there we go to Bristol, another half-mile track. Is it over?
No.
Smith thinks likely not either. He said he wants to go at it. I mean, we can go at it if he wants, but I think, at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a lot more going forward, and that's okay with me.
Alrighty. That's how you want to look at it. Bristol lurks.
And now the white-hot spotlight goes on to the 54 and the 8 car.
Mm-hmm.
In the aftermath of the crash fest at Martinsville, and I say crash fest, again, we said it during the recap, 15 caution flags flew at Martinsville. And if you look at the total number of laps led, and then realize that the pace car led 100 laps in all over the course of those 15 caution flags, the pace car actually led the field in more laps than any other driver. There used to be a joke about that. Now we can actually state that it's real at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series race last Saturday. NASCAR has alerted all Xfinity Series drivers that there will be a drivers-only meeting before they go racing. It's more involved than the normal drivers meeting that takes place before every race. You and I have been in those. You, as a competitor, have been in them. Mm-hmm. I've been in them on a couple of occasions just as a media person because I was curious about it and I could. And it's the regular drivers meeting is one of those things where they recognize for example, the people that are there, the honorary starter, the person who's going to say, gentlemen or drivers, start your engines and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll go through the basic rules and remind everybody of where the in on pit road is, where the out on pit road is, and, the basic rules like that.
Right.
Because, obviously it changes a little bit from track to track. So they just want to remind them, and what they do effectively is show a video. Mm-hmm. It's not really that big of a deal.
No.
Okay, but this drivers-only meeting is apparently going to kick everybody out but just the drivers, and then it becomes the Days of Thunder situation where Big John lays his foot down on the table and goes, hey, you're not going to do this on my racetrack. And we'll see whether or not that sticks.
Yeah.
Elton Sawyer talked about it on Sirius XM Satellite Radio's NASCAR channel this week, said this, quote, I think it's mostly just letting them understand, or at least giving them the message of how they can process what happened last Saturday and how they can learn from that and earn the respect of their fellow competitors. NASCAR racing, we've been built on pushing and shoving is fine. Tire marks are fine. That's okay. It's a contact sport, and we totally get that. But we do have to step in from time to time when they cross the line, and we just want to let them know that this is crossing the line, and we will step in. How far over the line is this to you versus what we would normally see at a Martinsville or a Bristol or a Richmond or, for that matter, a Darlington?
If they're going to speak up and say what's over the line and what's not over the line, you better enforce what gets said to make your point be clear.
Okay.
Because if you're not very clear on what's on the over the line or on the line or whatever, somebody's going to test it.
And let's face it, what Sammy Smith got, and he did get a penalty, but the penalties that he got,
that
really more slap on the wrist than anything else.
Don't you do it again, Sammy. Don't you do that.
I mean, my wife has long said this. If you're going to penalize, you better have teeth to that penalty. You better, and the people who are on the receiving end of said penalty better know that it's going to bite. And my wife has always used the example of her mother.
Right.
I want to say she was about 10 or so, which means her sister was about 5.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in time, her mom caught the two of them just horsing around doing something that was on the edge of getting them in serious trouble. And her mom said, "Don't make me count to 3." And they continued to go. And she said 1, and they kept doing it. And then she said 2, and the both of them sat down like perfect little angels, leading the friend who was watching this to go, "What happens if your mom gets to 3?" And the two of them, according to my wife, her and her sister, both went wide-eyed and white as ghosts and went, "We don't ever want to find out." So here's the question.
Yeah.
Is NASCAR going to count to 3 and leave it at that? Or is NASCAR going to say, "Don't make me count to 3," and sooner or later they'll get around to about 342?
I really don't think they've ever counted to 3, even though they said, "Don't make me count to 3."
Again, does it have teeth? Or is this just a voice threat and you're not willing to follow through on it? That's the question for me.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to take this break because when we come back, I'm going off. Legal challenges are one thing. We got, of course, the well-known lawsuit between NASCAR on one side and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports on the other. We got a lawsuit now between 2 Cup Series teams that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But then came a challenge to one NASCAR operation from outside the world of NASCAR. And it's stupid.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
And I'm fueled up on this one. All right. So again, we got 2 lawsuits in NASCAR. One just filed this week. Nothing really specific to talk about in the whole 2311 Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR situation. So we haven't talked about that in the last couple of weeks. We're just waiting on the next big thing. And then we got this challenge. And again, legal challenges are apparently the big thing in NASCAR these days, and that's a little bit of foreshadowing too. But since we're talking the Xfinity Series, we're going to talk one regarding one big team in this series, and that's Junior Motorsports. And you might be thinking to yourself, what in the world did Junior Motorsports do that has somebody ticked off? Turns out, trademarking the number 8, or specifically how the number 8 looks. Okay? Because if you think about it, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Teresa Earnhardt, and I don't know whether this was part of DEI or, the old Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, which I don't even think that was really much of a factor anymore, because we really haven't known Dale Earnhardt Incorporated as Dale Earnhardt Incorporated for what, a decade plus?
At least.
So I think it was just Teresa Earnhardt herself specifically holding on to the trademark, to the look of that stylized 8 that we knew from Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s early part of his Cup Series career. Mm-hmm. Well, she let it lapse, and immediately Junior Motorsports picked it up, and now that's what we see on the side of the number 8 car. If you were watching on CRN Live, you saw the Sammy Smith going into Taylor Gray situation that we were just talking about, and you saw that number 8.
Yep.
So who might have a problem with a stylized number 8? NFL's Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who, if you don't know, sports the number 8 on his jersey. Jackson's claiming that the number 8 Junior Motorsports has the rights to is a little bit too close to the number 8 that Jackson himself puts on his Era 8 apparel, including hats, shirts, and shoes. Now, here's the thing. The number 8 that's currently on the side of Sammy Smith's car is not the look that he's actually complaining about. It's last year's look. All right? But do me a favor and think about either one of those 8s, and then look at the picture of the Era 8 merchandise that's currently up there, and you tell me, are you really going to confuse the two? Are they that close to each other? We'll get back to that. I'll let you stew on that for a second. Jackson has filed a claim of opposition with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to stop Earnhardt and Junior Motorsports from using the stylized number 8 on any merchandise, claiming that his attempt at a trademark of the number 8 in that style could, again, confuse fans. Neither Junior Motorsports nor Dale Earnhardt Jr. immediately commented on the challenge. They took a couple of days and then came out with this, quote, "Through the U.S. TPO, Trademark and Patent Office, we successfully secured the right to the stylized number 8, the one that's currently on Sammy Smith's car. Therefore, we will be moving away from the original Junior Motorsports number 8 that we have used since 2019. We look forward to the remainder of an already successful season." Now, here's the thing.
They're not even close.
Oh, I know. They're not even anywhere on the same universe, truth be told. Here's the other part of it. And this is where the stupidity aspect comes in. Think about when Dale Earnhardt Jr. came in to the Cup Series and ran his first Cup Series races on just a part-time basis.
Before Lamar Jackson was even in college.
Well before. Now, Dale Earnhardt Sr. used a number 8 back in 1984 on what is now an Xfinity Series ride. Dale Jr. began to use the number 8 in that current style, Sammy Smith style, on a regular basis in the 1999 Cup season and was a Rookie of the Year candidate in the 2000 year. When was when was Lamar Jackson born? Anybody know? I'll tell you. 1997.
There you go.
Lamar Jackson was 2 when Dale Jr. started using the number 8. Now, The number 8 that he's talking about, that Junior Motorsports is now letting go by the wayside again. They started using that, 2016, 2017?
Something like that, yeah.
So Lamar Jackson would have been in college.
Yeah.
In other words, Era 8 never existed at that time. I'm not even sure it was a figment of Lamar Jackson's imagination at that point in time.
No.
But Lamar Jackson has apparently become so protective of what he feels is his property, the number 8, that he's also filed a challenge in the U.S. Trademark and Patent Office against another quarterback who is well known for the number 8. Does the name Troy Aikman ring a bell?
Jesus Christ.
Think about Troy Aikman for a moment.
Troy Aikman was playing before he was probably even a twinkle in his parents' eye.
Troy Aikman won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years before Lamar Jackson was born. Now, I haven't seen the exact style of the 8 that Troy Aikman has patented for whatever merchandise he's selling, but I can pretty much guarantee you it has a lot more to do with the Cowboys look, because that's where he spent his entire career in the NFL. Lamar, do us all a favor. Go play football and sell your Era 8 merchandise. And shut up. This is ridiculous. You got a bunch of... You want to trademark a phrase, trademark a phrase. You want to trademark a stylized number 8, fine. There's a lot of ways to stylize a number. And if you honestly believe that somebody's confusing your Era 8 with anything Junior Motorsports is doing, oof, you're talk about insecure. It's got to be one of the dumber challenges I've ever come across in my life. What in the world are you people doing? What are you people? Let's turn our attention to the Cup Series here. Not all was good at Martinsville, especially if you're Eric Jones. Eric Jones, who had his finish marked out because his car was disqualified after post-race inspection. Turns out, after they weighed it, the car was too light. Per NASCAR rulebook, his finish was disallowed. He was credited with last place. In addition, the 43 car and the 10 car from Calic Racing, it was announced, would be going to NASCAR's R&D Center in Concord, North Carolina for further inspection. Jones finished the race 24th, hitting the start-finish line there, and actually had 6 stage points to his credit throughout the race, but all that turns out for naught. Drops from 21st in the standings to 29th after the penalty adjusts its total. And Legacy MC has said we will not appeal the ruling from NASCAR. So that stands. There was no word on why the 10 car was picked.
I think that was just a random car.
Just came up. Okay. Denny Hamlin has taken over the so-called black hat in the Cup Series, his favorite to hate of all the Cup Series fans who seem to revel in his winless drought. Of course, well, that one at Martinsville dated back a decade, but after his dominating performance last Sunday, he seemed to enjoy it all the more. If you were watching the post-race ceremonies after he climbed out of the 11 car to a mix of cheers, he is a Virginia native after all, and the boos that he's become accustomed to hearing, he put one foot on the roof of his racer, one on the door, and was handed a flag from one of his pit crew members. You can see it on CRN Live on YouTube now. It read, quote, 11 against the world.
A fan actually made that for him, and he kept it.
Did they? Okay. It was kind of trash talk without saying anything, but after the race, he said this, quote, "That's me. I'm not nearly as good. My friends, it drives them absolutely crazy. This just fuels me, and it makes me feel good. So I love it when somebody says I can't do it, going out there and then doing it." That win turns out to be his 55th of his career so far. That moves him into a tie with NASCAR Hall of Famer Rusty Wallace on the Cup Series all-time wins list. But he doesn't have a championship. Does that matter in the grand scheme of things? Is he a surefire Hall of Famer, or is this one of those things where he's going to have to wait a couple of years? Unless he gets a title. I'll say it that way. Let's presume he finishes his driving career without a title. despite the fact that he's up there on the wins list. Because he doesn't have a title, does that mean that it gives some voters pause?
Did it give them pause with Mark Martin, Harry Gant, or Ricky Rudd?
Good point.
Here's your time.
Yep. Back to Legacy Motor Club. We mentioned the fact that we have one lawsuit in NASCAR right now. How about another one? And this one, as it turns out, is over semantics. But we'll give you the whole thing first. Legacy Motor Club filed lawsuit against Rick Ware Racing, alleging, in effect, breach of contract. Legacy filed this lawsuit in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina on April Fool's. Not a joke, by the way, but on April the 1st, indeed, alleging that Rick Ware Racing LLC is attempting to back out of the agreement to sell one of their two charters to Legacy MC, saying that they came to terms on this sale in March. Now, I'm kind of curious as to which charter we're talking about, because if you think about it, currently Rick Ware Racing owns two charters. They're using one themselves, and then they've leased the other one to Roush Fenway Keselowski, and that's the one that RFK is using to put the number 60 Ford Mustang for Ryan Preece on the track. While the suit was made public, several areas of this 46-page document were redacted for publicity or public purposes. Legacy is claiming, though, that the document that officials from both teams signed back in March regarding a charter sale is legally binding, but RWR is trying to pull out without the approval of Legacy. Suit claims the two sides met in January, started negotiations then, and when terms were agreed upon by both sides on March 3rd, they executed an official charter purchase agreement, again initialed by both teams. The suit adds this, quote, despite having a binding deal in place, RWR wants to back out. It has told Legacy that it will not, under any circumstances, close the parties' transaction. Legacy has tried to talk sense to RWR to no avail. Legacy's patience has run out. It now brings this suit to enforce its rights and hold RWR to its deal. Now, again, this is all semantics. Again, think about that and think about that particular way of phrasing it. And then this is the statement that Rick Ware Racing released on Wednesday, said this, quote, this lawsuit distorts the actual facts and is a misguided attempt to tarnish our reputation. RWR has negotiated in good faith and operated with the highest standards of integrity and professionalism. We're confident the truth will prevail and look forward to swiftly resolving this matter through proper legal channels. And that brings us to a report that The Athletic came out with just a couple of days ago as we air live on this Saturday morning. They report that the main dispute of the suit actually relates less to the transfer itself, but to when said transfer would take place. Rick Ware Racing states that they thought that the transfer of the charter would go into effect for the 2027 season, but Legacy MC, RWR states, changed the date to 2026 without consulting either the team or their legal representation of that intent. There's your semantics. Rick Ware Racing is not challenging the fact that they were willing to sell said charter to Legacy MC. The lawsuit is over when. They're willing to sell it to you. Now we just got to figure out when the sale's going to officially take place.
Yeah.
And if I'm the judge in this case in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina area, that's basically what I'm going to look at the legal representation of Legacy MC and RWR and say, that's what we're concerned about? Do me a favor. Go into a side room, work this out, and come back and tell me what you came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Stop wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
This is semantics. That's
Yep.
all that it is.
All it is, for sure.
You're trying to figure out a date. Go over there into that room. Use my chambers as the judge. Use my chambers. Figure this out. Get this off my docket so that I can concentrate on more important things.
Mm-hmm.
Good God.
Yep. Absolutely.
One more note here, and then we'll turn our attention over in the second hour of the show. Yeah, wow. Hour number one's already done. We'll start with some open wheel stuff in Formula One. But first, found out this morning, former Cup Series driver turned NASCAR TV analyst Kyle Petty has settled the route for his 29th annual Kyle Petty charity ride across America. It's going to take place May 3rd through the 9th. Petty's going to lead over 200 motorcycle riders on about a 14 to 1,500 mile or so route. Raise awareness, obviously, and funds for his Victory Junction camp. This year, it's set to start in Traverse City, Michigan. I think that might be the furthest north they've ever started.
They started in North Dakota one year.
Did they? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's pretty close. So they're going to go there and eventually work directly, if you were to run a line, south-southeast. But what they're going to do is run east first. And then they'll wrap up things in Hot Springs, Virginia. Stops will be from Traverse City to Detroit, Detroit to Cleveland, Cleveland to Niagara Falls. And they'll take an off day in Niagara Falls, just apparently staring at water flowing. And then they'll start to head south with a stop in Pennsylvania and then land in Hot Springs, Virginia. Kyle and his father Richard will be along for the ride. Former drivers like Max Pappas, Ken Schrader, Kenny Wallace. Former Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker will be along for the ride. NASCAR TV personalities like Rick Allen and Rutledge Wood is going to be there. Also notable as a rider, Bill Davidson. Bill Davidson is the grandson of Harley Davidson co-founder William A. Davidson.
Nice.
Very nice. Pretty good crowd. I always like to follow up on that because this goes for such a good thing. And they've raised, what, 25, 30 million bucks or something like that for Victory Junction Gang.
It's a good bit.
Yeah,
very good.
They've done a really nice job. It's a really cool thing, and I'm glad it's continuing. And I'm thinking it's going to see some representation when we talk about throwbacks as well, coming up here in about an hour, a little bit less than. We got a fantasy league update, Formula One, IndyCar stuff to talk about as well, and a milestone in drag racing.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in, getting hour number 2 underway. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson. Don't forget producer John on CRN Live on YouTube. If you're there, say hi to him. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. We turn our attention over to Formula One here as we look at Aston Martin. Aston Martin's Formula One team owner Lawrence Stroll insists that the Aston Martin brand is going to be in Formula One for a long time. He's saying decades to come. Stroll noted that the British car maker, of which he is chairman of the board, has sold off, however, its stake in the F1 operation. The car company getting an influx of capital, about 125 million pounds British to be exact. That's about $162 million in U.S. money. The sale has yet to be finalized. There is no specific buyer announced. Stroll stated, though, that he is working with an investment bank of Rain Group in England to help find a buyer for that stake in the F1 team. Stroll noted, quote, Rain will work closely with AM F1's, Aston Martin F1's commercial chief, Jeff Slack, to secure a strategic investor who can add long-term value to the team and the brand. Stroll also said in the statement of the sale, quote, Aston Martin recently recommitted to its long-term sponsorship and licensing agreement with the F1 team, confirming the legendary Aston Martin brand and its British racing green colors will compete in F1 for decades to come. He says decades. No disrespect to Lawrence Stroll here. But Lawrence Stroll is a little bit older than me. And I am flat out admitting right here on the radio and on CRN Live on YouTube for all the world to see, I ain't no spring chicken. How can he guarantee decades unless his son is set to take over in his role?
Lance will take over. Lance will take over.
It's almost going to have to be that way.
Yep.
Because otherwise he can't guarantee that it's going to be decades. He just can't.
Yeah, Lance will take it over.
Okay. 2 teams come into this weekend's racing in Japan sporting some one-off looks. Red Bull Racing brings a majority white look to Japan, and that's all thanks to and in honor of Honda in Honda's backyard for their time and their partnership with the F1 team, which, by the way, does, again, come to an end at the end of this year. Red Bull's signature blue gives way to white with some black and red lettering and logos. It's, got to admit, a pretty good-looking car overall on the part of Red Bull Racing. I like the way that it looks. I have no problem with it being a one-off. In fact, wouldn't mind it coming back again, maybe, I don't know, final race of the year?
I don't see why not.
Yeah. I think it would be a nice way to go ahead and
not
just
bad.
Set sail on that particular partnership and then get ready for the blue oval of Ford to come in next year and slap their logo on Honda's old engines.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's exactly what's happening.
Yep. That's all it is.
And then the other team that's bringing a new look is Haas F1. And most of the car retains the familiar white, red, and black look, but noting their technical partnership with Toyota that began late last year, the team's adding a fair amount of pink around the bottom of the racers to signify the beginning of cherry blossom season. Trees that are native to Japan, but you can actually find them on the DC Mall. It was a gift from Japan to the United States, and they were planted back in 1912. And if you've ever had the chance to go down to the DC Mall when it's cherry blossom season, it's it makes the place really come to life. It pops.
Yep. It really does.
The pink on the car, okay. Instead of the red like on the Haas on the side there.
Yeah.
That's really the main difference right there. There's some flowering of the cherry blossoms itself on the wings. I didn't get a good look at that, but there you go. So those are the 2 looks. We don't generally talk about, because it doesn't happen, we don't generally see special looks in F1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the time they run through almost the entire year running the same paint.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, livery.
Livery. Yeah.
Use their terms, not mine.
Yeah. Livery.
Livery. Let's turn our attention to IndyCar. Not much happening in F1. Although, I will say this. This shouldn't be a problem, by the way. I was actually a little surprised to find this out. They had grass fires at Suzuka in Japan that actually kind of delayed a couple of the practices. And you don't think about grass fires because you think Japan, you think, my gosh, they get so much rain there. It seems like every time we talk about something slowing things down or delaying things, it's rain. Well, they're not worried about the grass fire situation either because there's the possibility of some rain.
True. True.
So there you go. So that's why I wasn't going to go in depth into that whole thing. When I found out the weather forecast had a fairly good possibility of rain today, before the race and maybe even during the race, yeah, grass fires aren't going to be a problem. Don't worry about it. All right, let's turn our attention over to IndyCar, show you another car. This one from Meyer Shank Racing. They forged a relationship with the Miami, Florida-based St. Thomas University. It's a pretty small school, and let's face it, it's in Miami, Florida. That means it's overshadowed by the U. This partnership will have the school on the car and the team fire suits for the race at the Milwaukee Mile later this year. For the school, this is a benefit to the students, which brings in select students throughout the course of this month. Let's try and give you a little bit of an idea of what this is going to do. A statement from the team stated they will, quote, provide students with unprecedented access to the inner workings of a professional IndyCar team, offering hands-on experience to learn more about the engineering, design, and business administration roles of a race team. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Throughout the month of April, STU Big Data Analytics students will work hand-in-hand with Meyer Shank Racing's IndyCar and IMSA engineering staff, interpreting and learning about the team's data analytics and what goes into the engineering side on a race weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, pollen is kicking both mine and Matt's butts.
Yeah. And then some.
Yeah. STU's fashion, merchandising, and design students will have the opportunity to design and create a special edition race suit utilizing the team and series guidelines. Students will present their designs to the team for a chance to have Marcus Armstrong, driver of the number 66 Honda, to wear the suit during the Milwaukee Mile race weekend in August. So that's a pretty cool move on their part. I like that. Other students will be able to get in on the action as well. According to the statement, STU's culinary students will work to create race-specific sports drink. So they're going to work on their own version of Gatorade? Okay.
Ooh.
Designed with the flavors of tropical Miami in mind. Okay. 3 flavors will be created in all, packed with performance and nutrition. The inspiration will be the drivers themselves during a race. At the end of April, MSR leadership will host a symposium at St. Thomas University, which will put an emphasis on sports administration, communications, and marketing. Students will participate in an interactive assignment working together to identify and rationalize the best sponsor for a race team. Okay. Mike Shank said of the partnership, quote, this opportunity to align with St. Thomas University is truly something I have not seen before. There are so many areas of motorsports that people can work in, and it's really great that St. Thomas University is opening its doors for us to show students what racing is all about. We're very excited for this partnership. I'm kind of getting the funny feeling this may not be the first. I mean, you think about it, we have
Probably won't be the last.
We've seen Liberty University on, who is it, William Byron's car? Mm-hmm. And we have heard of other colleges and universities that have started programs to help people in motorsports.
Yeah.
I get the funny feeling we're going to see a little bit more of this because it benefits the race teams.
It benefits the university,
and
too.
It benefits the university and its students, too. I mean, this is one of those things that helps out both sides.
It really does.
I think it's a cool thing.
As much as they've gotten into the autonomous racing cars that has been lately.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Auburn University in it because they're really big in it.
Yeah,
exactly. They won one year at Indianapolis.
Yeah. I mean, you stop and you think about it. You got these schools that are well known for engineering and schools like Auburn that participate in those sort of things. And you think about it, Talladega is in close relationship to several schools, several big-time schools, you know, not to mention the smaller ones. I mean, yeah, there's Talladega College, but there's Jacksonville State University. You mentioned Auburn, Alabama, and UAB aren't all that far away, or Samford University for that matter.
Troy.
You know, you go over to Atlanta Motor Speedway, you think Georgia Tech immediately, no disrespect to Georgia. But, you know, if you're looking for the technical side of things, Georgia Tech almost makes an automatic partnership. And every single track has that. You go to COTA, you got the University of Texas. You know, pick a track. You'll probably find a college that you could partner up with in pretty close proximity. And as far as the teams are concerned, go talk to the people that work for you. Find out where they went to college and go see who you might be able to forge a partnership with. I mean, a lot of these guys, especially on the NASCAR side, but it's coming more on the IndyCar side as well. Talk to your people on your pit crews. These guys are former players that played football in college and tried to go on to the pros. Some of them made it, most of them didn't. And they become pit crew members because of their athletic ability and their, strength and endurance. Go talk to them. See if you can't forge a relationship with some of those alma maters.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, like you said, Atlanta would be Georgia Tech. Nashville would be Vanderbilt.
There you go.
Michigan would be University of Michigan.
Yeah, but if you wanted to, you could go talk to Michigan State.
Yeah. Texas A&M could go with COTA or Texas Motor Speedway. Considering that they both are, you could have Northwestern to go for Chicago and Purdue go for Indianapolis.
Sure.
Stanford could be with Sonoma.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia could go with Martinsville or Richmond.
Yeah.
Like the top engineering colleges in the United States: Stanford, Virginia, Brown, Cornell, Northwestern, Lafayette College, Yale, Harvard, Dartmouth, Vanderbilt, University of Michigan, Tufts University, Georgia Tech, MIT, Colorado School of Mines.
Wow. Okay.
Purdue,
they are talking about Pikes Peak. So.
Purdue University, Missouri University of Science and Technology, Texas A&M, Princeton, and Worcester Polytechnic Institute.
Wow. New Hampshire, you should be all over this.
Good.
Boston and Massachusetts have a bunch of top engineering. MIT is not the only one. MIT is obviously the most visible one. But he mentioned Tufts. That's in Boston. Harvard. New Hampshire should be all over this. They really should. Or Joey Logano. Joey Logano should be pressing Penske Racing to get all over this.
Or as Alabama fans always like to throw back at Auburn.
Yale.
Guess what? Guess what? Duke.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson attempting the double for the second straight year. Not only will have the sponsorship of his Cup Series ride, HendrickCars.com, he will also be sporting the Amazon Prime logo on the Indycar, as they have partnered with both Indycar and Cup races that day, with the added promise to break out film crews, too. Streaming service is going to be following Larson as he tries to do something that only Tony Stewart's been able to do to date, which is complete all 1,100 miles of the two famous races. Filming actually began in October of 2023. The documentary, when complete, will not only detail the 2024 effort and what will happen this year. Expect this document to drop late this year or early next. I'm thinking probably early in 2026, just in time for the 2026 racing season to begin.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people sitting there talking about what happens if Kyle Larson gets late in the race and maybe they have a rain delay and he's sitting there in top 5. Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon are going to pull his butt out of that car. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. If there is any delay, because here's the thing, we know this now. Okay, it is very, very clear and very, very apparent how long it takes to get out of the car to the helicopter pad, take the helicopter to the airport, fly from Indianapolis to Concord, North Carolina, jump in the next helicopter, and go from that airport to Charlotte Motor Speedway. We have that timed perfectly. We know how long it takes.
Approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Okay. So knowing that window, if there is a point where any kind of a delay, rain delay or big wrecks on the track, whatever it is, cause that, Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon are going to yank Kyle Larson out of that car. Period.
That's why Tony Kanaan's on backup.
Yep. That's going to happen, especially considering all of that drama that came from last year with this whole thing. They are not going to do that again.
Yeah, which is in answering Mark's question on YouTube Live, do not think for 1 second that I won't bum foot and all.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. Throw a CRN logo somewhere on the suit and be good to go.
Yep.
I mean, that would be part of the deal.
Yep.
So if Tony Kanaan can't do it, we got a driver over here, Rick. Just saying.
Just give me about 3 weeks to loosen up a little bit more, and I'll be great.
You got time. You got all the month of April and, then they'll start practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're good.
Yeah, I'll make it work.
There you go. When we come back, Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing has pulled a nice hire. This is a good move on their part. We'll talk about it here in just a moment. Again, we got a milestone race coming up in the NHRA. And then we will wrap up not only with the fantasy update, which we will give you. We have been giving that to you pretty much every week since then. And we will, again, let you know how you can sign up. But we'll also be dealing with Darlington throwbacks in our rankings.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Congratulations out to Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. They've got themselves a name who is, let's face it, very well known inside the racing industry and IndyCar specifically. They picked up Jay Fry. Jay Fry's been in and around IndyCar and open wheel racing for more than 3 decades. He joins the team as their new president. He'll report directly to the ownership. He'll oversee not only the IndyCar operations, but their IMSA WeatherTech sports car operation as well. Fry comes in, he takes over for Steve Erickson. Erickson was hired in just January of 2023 as their chief operating officer. No word on what happened there, but Jay Fry comes in instead of him. Fry moves to Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing after having most recently worked for IndyCar itself. He worked there from 2013 until just last year, where he was initially hired on and for the most part was, over that time, the chief revenue officer for Holman George. But when Penske Entertainment came in and took it over, that's when kind of things he started looking around and thinking, what else could I do?
Probably, yeah.
Before that, he worked inside NASCAR. He was the vice president and GM of, remember this, kids? NASCAR's Red Bull Racing Team. Before that, he worked for MB2 Motorsports from 1996 through 2007, where he was their chief operating officer and general manager. Basically, he built that team or helped build the team from scratch. Before his motorsports career, he was involved in sales and marketing for both Valvoline and Anheuser-Busch. Of course, some of those duties did involve racing, but he wasn't directly necessarily involved in working in the racing world. So congratulations to Jay Fry. And I would say this, congratulations to Ray Letterman Lanigan Racing. I don't know if this is going to have immediate dividends to them, but I think long-term, this could actually be a good thing for them.
Well, after the storms went through Indianapolis, so then they got to fix their shop.
Uh-huh. Good times.
Yep.
Always love that.
You know it.
IndyCar already talking about the 2026 schedule, which I kind of like it, save for the fact that it appears for now to be set on 17 races. Why?
Yeah.
You've got yourself a great television contract that gets you on the main Fox network every single race, and you're stuck on 17.
Yeah.
And then there's more fuel to the fire of why are you stuck on 17? According to Penske Entertainment CEO Mark Miles, IndyCar has been set on 17 since the 2022 season. Said this, quote, "It is the objective. It is more likely than not to be the number, but we've always said that if it was 16 or 18, those results are conceivable. Just depends on the opportunities, but I think more likely than not, it's going to be 17. 20 seems a better number, but again.
Yeah.
So next year, we know this. Streets of Arlington Grand Prix, that is set to join. That basically means that a race has to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's it going to be? Well, if you check the TV ratings from Thermal Club, maybe that's on the chopping block. Miles admitted to Racer.com that is indeed part of the conversation, but it's not something that we've decided, he said. He went on to say, I think it met or exceeded our expectations. They're excellent people to do business with. They're very good at taking care of their customers, whomever they are. Certainly the paddock likes being there. They're well treated, and I think that the view of the racing is really good. There are ideas about improving it by just changes to the track. I've seen the track. I've seen the track in action. I don't really have a problem with the track itself. And again, the treatment is great. Mm-hmm. But the racing, it's missing something to me. This, to me, kind of, and I don't know whether this is a Thermal Club thing or whether it's just a partnership between IndyCar and Thermal Club, that it just doesn't quite match up. But to me, it comes across as kind of like a Formula One race. Once you get off the start and you have run a couple of laps, that's pretty much going to be your lineup. There's not a whole lot of passing there.
Yeah, it's really not.
And that, I think, is the problem. And again, maybe it's just the fact that the IndyCar racer itself doesn't necessarily mesh up all that well with Thermal Club, or what else could be a situation? What else could cause that?
In a way, the IndyCar to Thermal Club is about like when IMSA WeatherTech cars were at Barber. The cars were really oversized for the track.
Yeah, which would be a problem, say, if NASCAR wanted to go there too, because they're not the smallest of cars either.
No, yeah and no. They're not the smallest of cars, no. But with the way these Cup cars are now, they may fit it well. Don't know. But IndyCar suits the track pretty well, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And about a month from now, we'll be there.
Yep.
Miles also went on to say that the series does have a good relationship with Thermal, so even if the series does not hold a points race there, it might just go back to what Thermal was back in 2023 when it was the home of preseason testing. He also noted the tough job of early season scheduling, saying, quote, I think St. Pete's start will be about the same in early March. Then I don't think we're going to have a 3-week gap. I think it'll be less than that before the next race. Fans will like that because we'll have some opportunities to close some of these gaps. It's still a tough time. You got things like the Players and Augusta in golf. You got the Masters coming up. You've got the March Madness and the Final Four. You've got Cup Series races. You got Easter. There's a lot going on. But the thing about it is despite all that, we get a race every weekend from the week after the Super Bowl until Easter. It doesn't seem to bother NASCAR that you have all that other stuff.
No.
I don't know why it would bother IndyCar.
I don't know. Maybe because the IndyCar crowd is more higher end, maybe?
Yeah, but that was... I can counter that argument by saying this. That was part of the argument of why are we bringing IndyCar to Alabama? Alabama's NASCAR country.
True.
But yet you look at the turnout that's come to Barber every single year for an IndyCar race.
It's solid.
And it turns out.
It's very solid.
And the same could be said for Nashville when they were doing either the streets of Nashville or on Nashville Superspeed. You and I were there. That was a good crowd at Nashville Superspeedway.
Yeah, it was. Being the first oval Indy race been to, which I was like, good Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, it was wild.
All right, word has it, as this subject continues, but it wasn't confirmed by Miles, that both Portland and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca are in their final years of their deals with IndyCar, so expect those contracts to be discussed as the year moves on, if that is indeed true. And something about Mexico City apparently has become suddenly a magnet. So Formula One obviously runs their Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And Formula E was there early in the year, granted on a much shorter version of the course. NASCAR is heading there this year with both Cup and Xfinity, and now IndyCar is talking about holding a points race at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Miles admits that if it does happen, that would take place early in the year. In other words, probably filling that 3-week gap between St. Petersburg and Thermal Club that was this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. That's fine. What is it suddenly about Mexico City that has suddenly grabbed everybody's interest, though?
It's hard to say.
I mean, go for it. I like the track. I've seen it in Formula One. I think it would be a great place to race at. But again, it's just like, wow, what's all of a sudden the fascination?
Yeah, but it's from the North American-based series. It's a logistical headache just to get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long haul, ladies and gentlemen. From the border for Texas down to Mexico City is not an easy trek.
Yeah, I mean, from Brownsville to the track, Brownsville, Texas.
Are you doing the mileage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
From Brownsville, Texas to the racetrack, 11 hours and 43 minutes.
Wow, full day. Full day of driving.
And it looks like it's in... Looks to me like the territory that you got to drive through is not interstate-like. Let's call it that.
That's something that NASCAR is going to have to be dealing with, too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 towns.
Ooh. All right. And again, I'm not complaining about it. You want to race at Mexico City, race in Mexico City. Work it out with Portland. Work it out with WeatherTech. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is a great place to go racing.
Yeah.
And I got no problem with them being there. Work out those deals. But at some point in time, you got to be thinking, and this is that same complaint that I've had for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Your season is wrapping up in September. You can run 3 more races easily, take it into October, and get 20 races in. I don't know what the situation is where they're stuck on 17. It just doesn't compute to me.
Puzzling.
We'll find out. Cool news, the refurbished Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum is now officially open to the public. It happened on Wednesday when museum and track officials held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Museum members and select owners were on hand for an exclusive first look on Tuesday before the public was allowed back in on Wednesday. The noted museum's been closed to the public since November of 2023 while they did a full renovation. Now, with a general admission ticket, you can take advantage of the entire 40,000 square foot facility, showing off the history of one of the world's most famous track and all the races that go on there. So you get a little bit of Indycar, you'll get a little bit of Formula One, you'll get a little bit of sports car, you'll get a little bit of NASCAR, all in there. And now, what had previously only been available to people with a special ticket, you can go down to the lower level with just the general admission ticket. If you'd like to find out more, go to the museum's website, which is imsmuseum.org. Just that picture that's on CRN Live on YouTube right now is a massive difference from the way
Huge.
I remember it. And I haven't been there, what is this, 2025? In almost 30 years. When I was there, it was 1996.
When I went in 2022, I went and I made it a point that I was not leaving the city limits of Indianapolis until I went to there.
Yeah. It's
And
a really cool place.
It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
And
it's
I went to the
very
lower.
cool.
I went to the lower level.
Oh, you got one of those tickets. Yeah. It's cool stuff. It really is.
It's worth it just to go to where you can get the what they call the track tour,
Mhm.
and you do the track ride around the track.
Yeah.
That's worth it in itself.
Sure. Yeah. Good stuff. If you ever find yourself in and around Indianapolis, that's a must.
Yep.
NHRA, IHRA news, where fast Jack Beckman was indeed the right choice to take over the funny car of John Force after injuries that he sustained last year at the Richmond event. Beckman took over for the final 8 races of 2024 and got a win during that time, finished second in the final standings to his teammate, Austin Prock. And he's picked up in 2025 where he left off last year. He's now sitting on top of the points. If you were listening to the recap about an hour and 20 minutes ago or so, you know that. Claimed his first win of 2025, and in the process, not only did he claim his 38th funny car win, he locked down John Force's 300th win in the funny car division alone. So congratulations to John Force Racing on that milestone.
Stuff.
I saw reports, and this is a misleading headline, so if you saw these headlines, don't believe them 100%. John Force is retiring. No. John Force has not said the words, "I'm done, I'm retiring," or any version of that. John Force has stated he is stepping away from driving duties for the foreseeable future while he works on his health from what happened at Richmond last year. So anybody who is reporting that John Force is retired or retiring, they're wrong with a misleading clickbait headline. Okay. Moving on to other stuff. D.H. Davies Racing and Josh Hart, who is the driver-owner of the R&L Carriers Top Fuel Ride, have forged and solidified a closer working relationship. This is going to help facilitate Hart getting the chance to race much more often, pretty much being a regular in the FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown, where D.H. Davies Racing has their operation based in right now. Davies said partnering with Hart, however, will also allow him to begin exploring some other options in some other NHRA divisions. He said this, quote, "Josh and I have been talking about building a racing relationship since the end of last year. He's a lifelong Dodge guy who bought a factory stock Dodge Challenger when they were first released, but never raced it. Now, we've kind of checked some of the prices of these things. Must be kind of nice to go out and buy a factory stock spec Dodge Challenger for $125 to $150K and not worry about actually racing it."
Yeah. It is true.
Then he goes on. Davies said, quote, "I suggested he give it a go in 2025 with the support of my racing organization, and I'm excited about that opportunity. We've also talked about some other racing endeavors for the future, but right now we're focused on the FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown Series." Hart himself said, "I have been watching the factory stock class. This was just the perfect time to make the move with the help and direction of David. We've had several great conversations about the directions that we can both grow and build our respective teams." Josh Hart also runs Bernie's Speed Shop, and I expect that probably will be on the side of the car, kind of like you see right there on CRN Live on YouTube. So I would imagine that's probably going to be much more often involved, at least on that side of it. He doesn't really show it off on the Top Fuel Dragster, but he's got a good working relationship with R&L Carrier, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yep.
And then the NHRA is about to hit a milestone with the Top Fuel division. Next weekend, when they race in Vegas, it'll be Top Fuel event number 999. And then when they get to Charlotte for the second four-wide event within a month's time, race number 1000 in the Top Fuel division. The first official Top Fuel race took place in the 1963 Winter Nationals. Big Daddy Don Garlits claimed the first event win. To make the event even more special, the winners of that first event and every milestone event since, the 100, the 200, the 300, you kind of get where I'm going with that, will all be on hand, and there will be a once-in-a-lifetime picture for all of them. And then to add on top of it, the winner of the landmark event number 1000 going to get a special commemorative Wally Parks trophy to signify the historic win. And then one would presume they'll all get back together. And instead of just having the winners of race number 100 through 900, you'll now be able to add in number 1000.
Nice.
Oh, to be the winner of that.
Yeah.
Whew.
It would be crazy.
Wouldn't it, though? And then the International Hot Rod Association, the IHRA, as we've begun to follow them because they're really making some steps towards stepping back up into the major spotlight of racing in the racing world. We've been starting to follow them. And they announced this week they finalized the purchase of another track, North Carolina's Gallatin Motorsports Park. Dragway is in a very prime position, right near the intersection of two of some of the busiest interstates in the United States of America, I-95 and I-40 in Benson, North Carolina. IHRA owner Daryl Cuddles purchased the facility from the Wells family. They bought the track back in 2013, did some major work to it over that time. Track surface claimed to be the flattest in the world. I'll get back to that. It's temperature controlled, features seating for 9,000, not including the 2 suites in the tower. LED scoreboards, easy to read. The number of amenities for fans, making it very easy and fan friendly. Great place to check out the racing action. That'd be a good place to go. Temperature controlled, which I find that's interesting. Apparently, they've got heaters under there to melt off any snow or ice, I guess. I find that interesting.
I guess so. Yeah, that's interesting. Never heard of that.
Flattest in the world. That's the part that I want to get to. What are the advantages of that? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I haven't been to a whole lot of drag strips, but the ones that I've seen, they look pretty flat.
Yeah, they're all flat. I mean, if it's flattest in the world, it's got to be a negative tilt to it somewhere.
I mean, at some point in time, don't you kind of worry about rain being able to kind of be pushed off of the track?
Yeah, drain off, yeah.
I mean, if you're the flattest track in the world, it ain't going anywhere.
Got to have drainage.
You're just flat.
Yeah.
But, hey, congratulations to them. And this is going to be fun to watch. Because if the IHRA is going to continue to do things along these lines, they're really going to set themselves up as being a competitor for the NHRA.
They are.
In every way, shape, or form.
Very much so.
All right, coming up next, we got a fantasy update, but before we even do that, Matt and I went through, and we haven't seen each other's. Well, I think Matt got a preview. I haven't seen Matt's.
I really didn't pay any attention to what he was doing, and I looked away to where I was blind.
Okay.
I didn't pay much attention to it.
So Matt's got his top 3 Xfinity, top 3 Cup, and his top overall for Darlington throwbacks. I've done the same. We'll see where we mix and match and where we differ next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
All right, welcome back into the show here. Final segment of today's show. We'll run down a quick fantasy update. Not much changed, but we'll give the winner last weekend their appropriate due.
Yeah, Junebug took the win at Martinsville. Overall, won it by a pretty decent margin, by 13 points. But the overall standings, there's really no change in the overall standings. Junebug still leads. You're in second. Old Boom Slick is in third. I'm in fourth. Fire Chef in fifth. Chase in sixth. Stace Man in seventh. And good old John Myers making his podium, his top 10 debut.
There you go.
He's in the show.
You can still get in on it. How do they do that if they choose to?
CRN Fantasy Live 2025 on the NASCAR Fantasy Live website.
Easy enough.
Yep.
Love to have you as part of it. Doesn't cost you anything. Kind of like subscribing to CRN Live on YouTube. It's free. It don't cost you nothing.
Right.
All right. It's throwback weekend, and Truck's not taking part in it this week. This time around, they'll race.
Thank the Lord.
They'll race later on in the year at Darlington on Labor Day weekend. So throwbacks just between Xfinity and Cup, and you and I have noted it. We threw out during Crossed Flags this week our honorable mentions, noting the fact that we still had all day Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and admitting that it could change.
And mine did.
And so did mine. So, Matt, we start with you. We'll start with the Xfinity Series, which you and I both pretty much agreed. Xfinity's beating the tar out of the Cup Series when it comes to these looks overall.
Yeah, I didn't quite send John my Xfinity honorable mention.
That's no problem.
But my honorable mention for Xfinity is going to be Jeb Burton's throwback to the old 1994 Hardage Lumina that Ward Burton drove.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. I like it.
That's mine.
Okay. Where do you want to go as far as your top three?
You want to do the go ahead and hit the Cup honorable mentions and get them out of the way?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, in that case, then what I will mention here.
Those are about to flash up.
Okay. My Xfinity Series honorable mention, strangely enough, goes to Sammy Smith in the 8 car. I liked the look. I wasn't sold enough to go out there and put him in the top 3.
Yep.
It was real close. I have the look that they were going for. And I thought it was good. It came real close with the TMC going on the old 3 doors down look that actually Tony Stewart ran.
Yep. Michigan.
But it just, when I started looking at some of these other ones, man, I just couldn't pull it there. Honorable mention in Cup.
I changed mine. My honorable mention is going to go to Ty Dillon with the Patty Moise throwback from 1989 with the Beaver Street Fisheries.
That was in my top 6 because I ended up going through 6 cars that I really liked, and I kept whittling them down. That was in my top 6. The 21 car was in my top 6, but just missed out.
Yep.
What I ended up going with was the number 11 car, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin taking a look back on that number 99 that Carl Edwards ran. That to me was just too sharp of a look to ignore.
I say with our top 3s, alternate them: third Xfinity, third Cup, second, first.
All right, producer John, if you're prepared, that's the way we're going to do it. All right,
that's why I just keep it in symmetrical order, I guess.
All right, so there you go. That's another look at the honorable mentions that Matt and I had in the Cup Series here. So let's go Xfinity Series number 3 for Matt.
Third on the Xfinity Series, I went with Kyle Sieg with his 28 throwback to Ricky Rudd from 2002.
Well, you and I are in perfect agreement on that because that hit my number 3 as well. They hit the color of the car.
Oh, they
hit
this
the
one.
color of the logo, the numbers, everything on it. The only thing that's missing is the sponsorship. I mean, otherwise, that thing is an almost dead-on ringer for the way that car looked. So, yeah, I'm not really surprised that the two of us did it. But, I mean, even taking the Night Owl sponsorship that you see there.
And putting it in the font of Haviland.
and then having that red star there. And yes, it's not the 5-pointed star of a Texaco, but it's so close.
It's very close. Yeah.
It's real close. Congratulations to them. That is ridiculously close. So yeah, we both agree on ranking number 3 in Xfinity. Matt, number 2 Xfinity. I'm sorry, number 3 Cup. My apologies.
Cup, yeah.
Number 3 in the Cup Series for you.
Third in Cup, I'm giving to Denny Hamlin's Office Depot throwback for Carl Edwards.
My honorable mention. Okay.
I'm giving that one third.
Okay. I went with one that we said when it first came out, and this was one of the first ones that came out, one of the first major ones that came out, was almost spot on because it was a sponsor of the 5 car. And they hit the paint job again. The only thing really kind of missing is that sponsorship, which was Frosted Flakes, and that's Kyle Larson's number 5 car, which is, they're doing HendrickCars.com, but they nailed the font of it. They nailed the overall look of it. The only thing, and this is that little niggling thing that bothers me, truth be told, and probably bothers you just as much, placement of that number.
It kills every one of them.
It really does.
It kills every one of them.
But you think about it, and they did the same thing. You know, when you look at that 11 car and you compare it to the 99, which you can see up in the corner there, if you're looking at the picture, you can just kind of tell how close those cars are. So yeah, I don't disagree with you that that's certainly in the top 4. It's just, again, our rankings. So that's number 3 Cup. That brings us to number 2 in the Xfinity Series. Matt, what do you got?
Number 2 Xfinity Series was tight for me, but I went with Garrett Smithley and the throwback scheme to Terry Labonte's M&W Windows Busch Series car with a number, font, everything identical. And even on the front of Smithley's car this week, they put Lumina.
Gotta like that.
I went with that one.
Gotta like that. My number 2, I'm going to go to the number 10 car. You think
I've thought about this one, but they missed some of it. They missed some of it. Me.
I can see it, but again, when you start to look into it, yeah, we could always pull out little details. But when I looked at that 10 car and I looked at what it was based upon,
yeah,
and how they were able to pull that off and make it do what they were able to do, and to hear the reaction, for example, of Kyle Petty when he saw this car.
Yeah.
That was just too good for me. I mean, yeah, you're talking, I mean, you look at the hood and in the 45 up there in the little picture inside the picture, it looks much more blue and looks much more purple on the actual car. I get that. But when you take the overall look of the 2 cars and just compare them side by side, that's amazingly similar.
To me, where they missed it is they got the purple on the doors coming up too high. It needs to be lower than the original versus this one.
I see where you're going with that too. Yeah, but it was too good for me to pass up.
The Terry Labonte 14 one, I couldn't pass that one up.
I see where you're going with that.
But that's where,
strangely enough, that wasn't in my top 6. Though.
That's where that one missed it for me.
I got you. Strangely enough, that 14 was not in my top 6.
Throwbacks, I'm going to things that are 2001 and later, Yeah. In that era, I mean, when it's further than 5 or 10 years ago.
Sure.
I'll say that because some of them can't get out of the 5 or 10-year-old era.
All right, number 2, let's flip our attention over to the Cup Series. What do you got?
There's some people that are going to probably despise me on this one, but my second place one is going to be the Larson's Terry Labonte car. That's second place in Cup for me.
All right. Yeah, I mean, again, you and I are not all that far off when it comes to that. You and I are pretty much in agreement that belongs at least in the top 3, if not necessarily in the same order.
Yeah.
So, hey, if people want to get mad at you, then let them get mad at you. I'm not all that worried about it. When I started looking at this and thinking about what I could pick, I have to admit I was not 100% convinced that this was the way to go. But when I kept looking at it and kept looking at it and I kept coming back to it and I kept coming back to it, I just couldn't resist going with that particular car. Excuse me. I wish I could get my throat cleared. I couldn't resist going with that car. And I debated, I waffled a little bit about whether it should be rated 1 or 2.
If they would have put black wheels on the car, it would have been in mine.
But that's that Rick.
It's just ridiculous.
I know. It's the Rick Ware Racing thing.
Ridiculous.
It's the Rick Ware Racing thing. But if you look at that 51 car and then you think, you mentioned the Ward Burton car. Mm-hmm. This goes back to the Caterpillar look that he won the Daytona 500 in.
Yep.
And just the overall striping and everything. I mean, yeah, to me, this is about as close as you're going to get without slapping the Caterpillar logo and the 22 on the side.
Yeah. Minus the gold wheels.
Minus the gold wheels. I get it.
Minus the gold wheels.
All right. So that's number 2. Tops for you in the Xfinity series?
In an absolute walk-off, bases-loaded grand slam, walk away for me.
All right.
Is Parker Retzlaff's Ernie Irvan throwback to Kodak 1993.
Man, I looked at that, and it's in my top 6.
That's a walk-off grand slam no-brainer for me.
Okay. It's in my top 6. The 45 was also in my top 6. But it wasn't the one that I went with. I went with the throwback to Harry Gant. Number 51.
That one's in my top 5.
Yeah. Something about that look, when you think about Harry Gant's look, and they didn't really show it all that well in the background, so you can't really get a good look at it, but they seem to have just about everything else going for it when it comes to the font of the letters, when it comes to the colors, and how they matched it all up there. And you look at the sponsorship and you think about the sponsor that he had back then in the Skull Bandit, and it's just everything about it just looks too good to me.
Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham.
Yeah, I couldn't resist going with it because it just caught me. And again, like I said, I look at that 4 car, I can't argue that at all.
That's a walk-off. I'm sorry, walk-off. No questions asked.
Yeah, it's a good-looking car.
Game over.
If you can go find that Ernie Irvan number 4 car and look at it with the Kodak look, put them side by side.
Alpha Prime hit all 3 of theirs very, very well.
I don't know what it is about Alpha Prime, but man, they nailed it big time. And then maybe a little bit of an upset for me as we go to number 1 on the Cup side, but I'll let you lead off there.
I'm not going to say mine's not quite an upset.
Okay, go for it.
I went with the Eric Jones 1999 John Andretti throwback.
Understood. Very much so, and it is a very, very close approximation. There's no doubt about it.
And for the purpose that it's for with the sponsor that's on the car,
yeah, that's true.
That's what won it for me.
Yeah, and let's face it, we all know what John Andretti passed away from, and all of our lives have been affected in some way, shape, or form by people. If you haven't personally dealt with cancer, you probably know somebody directly who has been. And I can say that my wife, my father, my grandfather, all of them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And it was one that I considered there for a little bit. But when it came down to it, when I looked at what NY Racing came up with on that number 44 car,
I've got to give them credit on this one.
They came out strong.
They did good
with this look. They really did. And, we don't get to talk about NY Racing a whole heck of a lot when you really stop and think about it. NY Racing is just kind of in the background because even when they're running, and they are only a part-time team, even when they're running, you rarely see or hear about them. But when you come out with that look and show off that car in comparison to what Bill Elliott ran on that Coors, I would love to say Silver Bullet, but it was just the basic Coors. Got the striping going right. Again, just that number placement.
So the Southern 500
just that
win.
Number placement.
Yeah, I know.
That's it.
I know.
That to me is the one major distraction, and maybe the fact that it's a Chevrolet and not a Ford, but that's minor. We've seen that constant. That's a regular thing.
Yep.
All right. What's your overall best of show?
Best in show, Xfinity car, hands down, Parker Retzlaff. In a walk-off.
Yeah, he chose the Xfinity ride. I chose the Xfinity ride as a best of as well. To me, it's the Harry Gant look. So what we chose as the Xfinity Series number ones are our respective overall best of.
Yep. Xfinity, bravo for you this year. Y'all, every one of you nailed them really well.
Y'all brought it.
Cup cars, y'all bombed it.
Especially,
with the exception of a few.
Especially, and you know, I'll say this as overall respect to the 43 car at Legacy. But when you look at that teammate, the 42 car, and what they tried to do, total whiff.
Yeah.
Total whiff. Go look at that car, and then go look at what inspired the 42 car, quote unquote, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
Chase Elliott's is worse.
Yeah, I saw Chase Elliott's too. That's a big miss too. Yeah, I would agree. Guys, bring it. Come on. Bring it. This is supposed to be fun. And the Xfinity Series is having a blast. Cup Series, come on. Play. Join in. Water's fine. Be more than happy to have you here. All right. That'll wrap things up for us. Coming up, got crossed, I'm sure, and whatever other controversies happen throughout the course of this week. And, of course, we'll bring you another new show, The Big Show, next Saturday morning. Hope you join us then. Y'all have a great week. And who knows, maybe the pollen will go away for us and we won't be coughing and sneezing and sniffling the whole time next week. But I kind of doubt it because I get the feeling it'll stick around. Have a great week.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.